for America. 60 AM KBDT proudly presents Life Solutions, coaching, counseling, naturopathic medicine, insights for successful living, and getting better with Ann Beal.
Welcome. We are here today to let you know how to do well with family and friends or acquaintances when they disagree with your politics or they disagree with your statements about the world.
Your convictions. Yeah, this is such an important show today, Ann. You know, I suspect that nearly everybody out there listening has experienced this at this point. Politics have become such a hot topic, and boy, it becomes so personal that we have a hard time navigating it sometimes, you know, even among our family members.
Yes, and we want you to know how to talk politics in 2020 without losing family and friends. We've heard so many stories, especially one lately. Our daughter went to visit some family, and it was a wonderful time she had. And then the night before, after 6 days or 5 days of having a wonderful time with everyone, somebody popped the question and directly asked her who she was voting for. Now, she's young, and I told her later, you know, just because someone asks a question doesn't mean you have to answer it. The best question back would be, why? Because when you ask that question, 50% possibility it's not going to go well with the answer. That person's going to disagree with you.
Right.
And so you've drawn a line in the sand in
exactly.
a way. And so there's better ways to do it if you really want to know. But also, it's what we want you to know is get to know people. Get to know people. Find out what they're thinking, what they're feeling, because one thing that we know is that all your families and friends, they want what's best for this, for our country, for this government. They want the world to be a better place. They want our country to be a better place. And they just disagree with, you know, what's going on, how to get there or whatever. But you both have the same end goal, to have a wonderful country and a wonderful life for you, your friends and family and grandkids and kids and everyone. So how do you go about that? I have Dr. Jim Slaughter here joining me today, stress and anger specialist.
Hey, what a topic today for that, huh? And it is so good to be with you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And those of you who are watching on Facebook, great. And those who are listening in, we're so glad you joined us today. Glad to be here.
So for you, I know that social media is such a dividing place for people, and it's ruined more relationships and divided more families and friends than we've ever seen, and a lot more than bringing people together.
Yes, it has. And, we're finding more and more people posting political statements and ideas and their own convictions on social media these days. And invariably, it creates separation between people. Often, it does not make people happy to read your views politically. It makes them unhappy to read your views. And so, you know, there's a part of me that wants to say, drop it. No political advertising on social media. All it does is cause trouble.
So we've already had comments on Facebook. If you want to go on Facebook and see the video, just go to Getting Better with Ann Beal. If you don't get a chance to see it, we're going to put it on Instagram and YouTube later.
Yes.
And so if you want to see us, even on the breaks, we are on Facebook on the breaks still talking. And the comment from Larry is, how'd you know? Because we're like, are you an outcast from your family and friends? Okay, so social media, by now, they did a study that just came back that says 78% of people are sick of seeing political posts on Facebook.
I'm surprised it's so low.
It may be higher. Well, and so, you know, just understand that people need encouragement, love, compassion, joy, energy. They need all that right now.
They do.
That's what we need more than anything. So people are saying, post more of those animals. Those cute cats.
Funny dog moments and things like that are the things we need to see. And, let me just say, our program is going to be a lot about that today. We have a lot to say about political interaction and that kind of thing. But a lot of what we're talking about today is just being kind to one another, and sustaining and maintaining our family over and above political positions, right?
Yes. Because in the end, you can be very alone if you outcast everyone you disagree with. in any sort of way. And so more and more people, it's hard enough with the coronavirus that people are so alone and separated from the people they love. And so if you separate them from their church and their friends and their exercise and, everyone, and then you also divide them with people that they really love because they don't exactly agree on their politics. So then they're very alone. And so one of the things that we wanted to talk about today was people are losing the ability to resolve conflict with one another.
Right.
They're losing the ability to tolerate differences in any sort of way. Mm-hmm. And it goes from, I don't like what you're saying, or I don't agree with you, to I hate you.
Mm-hmm. I don't like you.
That if you say something I don't like, I'm going to X you out of my life. Mm-hmm. Even, and I had a family member that people even though I wasn't saying anything or doing anything, people were telling her to unfriend people who disagreed with her.
Right. And
she's in the medical field and we're in the medical field, but they were just saying, if you don't, they were telling her, unfriend people who disagree with you, unfriend them. They kept pressuring her. And I was thinking, that's not good to do. And then, I just noticed the other day I was unfriended. I'm like, oh, great. Well, I didn't do anything. It's pretty bad if your family members unfriend you, especially the family members that you really like. And so we just encourage you to know what to say and have the skills to know how to handle it so that you can even think in your head, I'm wrong. You're wrong, but I'm listening. And we want to talk to you about a book that is titled that, You're Wrong, But I'm Listening. And it's two women. Do you want to talk about it, Dr. Slaughter?
Well, sure. I'd love to talk about it, except I was trying to remember, and we have just been made aware of this book, and we're very much in favor of it from what we've heard. One author's name, last name Silverman, but I don't remember the other
There's
one.
Beth.
Yeah, that's the first name.
Yes. But
anyway,
the book itself...
The book itself... They have been friends for a long time, weren't in touch for quite a while, and they have opposite political positions. One is more liberal thinking, leaning to the left, and the other's leaning to the right, a little bit more conservative thinking, and yet they are extremely close friends. And so they began to be able to dialogue about their political views and positions and everything like that in such a way as not to distance themselves from one another. They just had a conversation, and they did it more to cement their own personal values, to find out what the other person thought, where they were coming from. Neither one of them felt like they had to win an argument or be on top after they finished talking or anything like that. They were just looking into what the other one believed. And so we're thinking that there's a lot there for people who might be interested in this. We believe that politics has divided people more than it has for probably decades and decades. And we want to work through that. We want to help you navigate through some of that. And this is a book that we think might help you.
Yes, it's Sarah Stewart. I looked it up, and Beth Silverman, who wrote the book. And they have a podcast.
You'll love this name.
The Pantsuit Politics, or Pantsuit Politics. Basically, what they're trying to do is teach you how to have discourse with people that, believe differently than you or have different views, how to listen to them and see where they're coming from. And understand, the family member who unfriended me, maybe because of our medical clinic, I don't know. But I didn't even get to have any discourse with her about why or anything. Right. And so being able to listen to someone, to hear their perspective, and, think it through. I have, people have had difficult stepfathers when they were growing up. And so some of the family member just stayed away from them and didn't get along with them or whatever. They just distanced themselves. And some, usually when they have a family member like that, really work over time to get to know them better, to try to understand them, where they're coming from. And for anger management, I know for you, that's one of the things you teach people.
Well, absolutely. It's a strong, very, very important component to the conflict resolution communication area. And let me say, one of the strongest ideas in communicating is not just, listening is important, being willing to listen, but it really more has to do with hearing where the person's coming from. What do you mean? Understanding is an important component to communication. If we don't understand where the other person's coming from and what they're saying, then we really haven't been helped, or we really haven't connected with them. And so that's really what we're after. And a lot of that has to do with helping us understand and cement our own values. And so, we don't have to go into a conversation about politics with some kind of a chip on our shoulder, right? Or some kind of an agenda. Some kind of a win mentality. Because if we have that mentality in mind, then we're going to lose, because we can't do it.
Yes, any conversation. And I think what I observe more than anything is people needing anger management. Stress, of course, is high, and stress management, of course. But when they blow up on somebody for just, if you, like, say you ask who they're voting for and they give their opinion, if you blow up right then, that's an anger management issue. You have anger issues. You can't control yourself.
Right. And, a good answer, I think, to that question, who are you going to vote for, who are you voting for? You mentioned, why are you asking me that? What is it you want to find out about that?
Yeah, well, I think just saying why is a really good question, because why are you asking a divisive question that could end up so badly in a conversation?
Right.
If you know them well, if you know them pretty well, or you're in some kind of group that you pretty much know what they're going to say, okay, you're still taking a chance, though.
Sure, absolutely.
And so, and you're taking a chance whether you ask it or whether you answer it nowadays.
I was thinking that a good response to that might be, I'm really more in favor of thinking through my values and voting value-wise, not candidate or party-wise. If a person says they're voting for a certain person and that's not the person you're voting for, then it might be, a good thing to say, well, tell me what it is about that person, about him, that impresses you. What is it that makes you want to vote for him?
I do think that when you talk about voting for a person, that right now, I guarantee you, if it was switched and Biden was saying the things that Trump's saying, and Trump was saying the things that Biden's saying, even though I don't hear Biden very much, people they just flip sides, probably. They just flip. I'm not saying everyone, okay, I got that. But the people who are for Trump because they just love Trump, and people who are for Biden or for the Democrats I've had people say it's more against Trump, okay?
Well, he has that red
even
face.
Against Trump. But still, if you switch sides, and they switch sides. Do you see what I'm saying? And so that's why it's important to know what you believe and to know what the people believe. So you are actually voting your values or beliefs instead of for a person per se. And I used to have people tell me, well, you just need to pick the best person. And I'm like, yeah, I want to know what comes out of their mouth, and what they feel and what they plan on doing. Because even if they're a good person, if they want to take all my freedoms away, I don't want to vote for them.
Right. And, in order to be able to make a decision about who you think the best candidate, best person is, you have to have a value structure, because that's the way you decide who you think the best person is.
That's why you start with you. You start with you.
Right.
Really knowing what you believe and why you believe it. Which is, I hear people say either side. I've been a Democrat all my life. I'm just going to stay a Democrat, and I'm a Democrat. And I said, well, I used to be a Democrat. So I look at it and I think it's changed so much. So, do you know what you believe, or are you just voting for a party? Okay, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, or whatever. And so to know that, and I always would say, like other people say, that I didn't leave the Democrats, they left me. But I do think that understanding, first of all, what you believe, so when someone else disagrees, you're so grounded in what you believe, it's okay.
Right.
And I do have a lot of really good friends that feel very differently from me, and I don't mind listening to them, and I hear where they're coming from. I also know that they're they're watching MSNBC and CNN. And if I was watching MSNBC and CNN, I would feel exactly like they do. I'm a human. And so I think it's important to put yourself in another person's place and be able to see where they're coming from and what they're learning, and mostly their heart for the kind of people they are, and be able to respect them as a person and be kind and gracious so that you can be a good person and spread. Because people listen to good people. They listen to people that they care about. If you alienate them, they don't listen.
Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just two of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. They say we're not getting any younger, but many thousands have felt younger after a few short months using Dr. Wallach's all-natural longevity nutritional supplements. How many times have you said one of these days, I need to call Dr. Wallach and find out what I need? Well, make that day today. Here's how to get that information. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down and make the call. The information is free, and there is no pressure. So do it now. That's 800-214-0065. If you face health challenges such as heart disease, arthritis, diabetes, fibromyalgia, depression, infertility, ADD or ADHD, high blood pressure, or one of hundreds of other diseases, help is available. All you have to do is make the call. You have nothing to lose but the pain and suffering. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. You've been listening to Dr. Wallach, and I bet you have some questions. We want to help. And here's how you can get the answers. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down and make the call right now. Don't wait any longer to find out how Dr. Wallach's own all-natural nutritional supplements by Longevity can help you. Are you concerned with reducing your risk of heart disease, cancer, stroke, or high blood pressure? Help is available. Do you have arthritis, sore joints, lower back pain, or fibromyalgia? Call now. Dr. Wallach creates his own formulation so you can be sure that what is on the label is actually in the bottle. Whatever your health challenge, make this call. Thousands like you have seen results for a happier, healthier life. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Call today. 800-214-0065.
It's true, many of us spend more time thinking about what's for dinner than preparing for retirement. But if you think your retirement needs deserve more attention, we agree. And we'd like to help. We're Edward Jones. Together, we'll give your long-term retirement strategy the attention it deserves. Stop by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Fritz Beckworth's office at 128 South Cockrell Hill Road, DeSoto, Texas. Call 972-274-0237. 972-274-0237. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
While you have free time and you're sitting at home and you ponder what kind of gifts to buy for someone, PatriotDepot.com has you covered from puzzles, games, novelty items. If you're looking for some unique style items when it comes to the president, for more you can check out PatriotDepot.com. Call 844-377-8052. That's 844-377-8052 or PatriotDepot.com. Use promo code USA.
Thank you. Had a little work to do.
To admit it's getting better, a little better all the time.
And now here's more Getting Better with Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
We were talking on break. Number one, don't take lessons from politicians or the media on how to handle your friends and family when they disagree with you.
No.
Don't do that. They just chop them right to pieces and chop them down.
Yeah, and this reminds me that politicians are not our friends. Our family are our friends. Politicians are not our friends or our family, and so to have an allegiance that goes with them over and against our family is really backwards. In fact, it's unbiblical. The family is such a basic foundational element in the topic of the scriptures, and so we really want to focus on our family and connect with them and make sure that we are still friends with them. The politicians, they're not our friends. They're politicians.
No, they're not our friends, and they come and go.
And that's not to say that there aren't good politicians. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they're not in the same category or class as our family members, as my brother, my sister,
Well,
my dad,
we don't
my
know
mom.
them really, do we?
No, we
I mean,
don't know
they're
them at
just
all.
acquaintances.
Yeah.
And so what we're
Just read
what
about
we're
them.
hoping for is for them to do what they say, right? Whatever that
Yes.
is that we want them to do.
Yes.
So, but if you lose everything in the process, but your candidate wins, you're still a very miserable, lonely, sad person. And so it's important to put your relationships as priorities, put your political differences aside. There was a time, of course, we've mentioned that people didn't talk about politics or religion.
Right, those two categories were
Yeah.
off limits, and that was kind of a standard thing. People wouldn't talk about those things. And the reason I was thinking this morning, Ann, is that those are the two subjects that are the most dearest to our hearts because they're so personal for us.
Yes.
Religion, politics. Politics has to do with our values, and so both of those things are so personal
Yes.
that they're hard to talk about sometimes.
Well, and I think it's gotten to the point where people are afraid. So fear drives a lot of things. And that's why if someone brings up politics or religion, you just got to know it's a very deep, deep, deep trigger for a lot of people.
Right.
So you got to be careful when those come up. If you know that what you have to say might divide, and that's where you want to tread carefully. And political differences, there was a time when you could politically disagree, and you can disagree. We have lots of friends and we disagree and we're able to, but it's got to be people who are, it's okay. They know what they believe. You believing something different isn't going to upset them. It's not going to affect them per se, but it brings them closer to you to understand you.
Right. And that may be one of the very main points that we're trying to get across today, that, what we need to do is to solidify our own values, be so confident with our values and what we believe that we don't have to react when somebody else says something that opposes that or is different from that. We can just talk about it. We can have a conversation about that. And we don't have to win. They don't have to win. But it takes a degree of self-confidence and self-esteem in order to come off well with that.
I think it's important to understand that, I don't know, what do you call them, ideologues or politicians or, if you think of people in the media, all those people, normally they want power. It's more about power. But as a person and a family, you want love.
Right.
We want love.
Exactly.
We want love from our friends, our family. We want our community like us, right? And so we are looking for acceptance and understanding. If you get acceptance through politics, those aren't necessarily good friends, because when you change your mind in any sort of way, and it's not just as a Democrat or as a Republican, they divide much more inside all of those. It's not enough to divide you by family or by race or by religion or by party. They divide inside of that. All religions, are divided inside of them, so that you just get smaller and smaller and smaller with the people that, if everyone divides because you disagree, there are so many things to disagree on.
Oh, yes.
So getting to the point where you immediately attack because you're mimicking, because maybe you watch the news a lot, and this is what the news does, or this is what politicians do. Our number one thing to suggest for you to stop watching the news. Actually watching. Okay, you can read the news. You can read it without getting the hostility and anger behind it, or swayed news. At least if you read it, you get it better. You can read it. You can read it on Yahoo. You can read it on Blaze. You can read it on ABC. They all have websites that you can read. And there's
Right.
newspapers that you can read versus hearing it. Because what so many people have started doing is just mimicking the rudeness and the disrespect and the just not grace, not kind. And they hurt so many people. But mostly what everyone tells us in our clinics is they're getting lonelier and lonelier, and they've lost more and more and more people.
Yes.
So we want you to stay right here. When we get back, we're going to go through the actual details of what you can do when you have an argument or a disagreement, how to handle it, the steps to take so that you don't alienate any more family and any more friends.
Right.
And remember, number one, just because you get asked the question, you don't have to answer it. You can just ask why. It's one of the best things that you can do to find out why you're having this conversation.
Yeah.
So stay right here.
Yep.
unique items.
Mention a new product? Do you think companies would be interested in your idea? Do you want to try to get a patent? Then call InventHelp now. InventHelp keeps your idea confidential and explains every step of the invention process. We create professional materials representing your idea and submit it to companies who are looking for new ideas. We have more than 9,000 companies who've agreed to review ideas in confidence. If a company shows interest in manufacturing your invention, we can negotiate on your behalf. We have helped over 10,000 clients receive patents. We also offer services including 3D modeling and animation demonstrating your idea, prototyping services, and we use state-of-the-art technology to show InventHelp client ideas to additional companies. Join the thousands of people just like you who chose InventHelp to pursue their idea. We are experienced. We are working for you. We are InventHelp.
Call us for free information at 1-800-460-1663. That's 1-800-460-1663. Again, 1-800-460-1663.
Are you looking for senior care for your mom or dad but don't know where to start? Hi, I'm Joan London with The Place for Mom. Nobody knows your parent or loved one better than you, and nobody knows senior living better than the experts at A Place for Mom. They've helped thousands of families find the right place for their mom or dad.
I was so glad that I called A Place for Mom. My advisor really listened and was truly my partner in finding senior care for my dad. She went out of her way to get to know him as a person and was always there whenever I had a question.
The senior living advisors at A Place for Mom partner with thousands of families every month, listening and offering local knowledge and advice to help find the best senior living communities across the country. And it's a free service. Here's the number.
Call A Place for Mom at 1-800-370-2715.
There's a place for answers, a place for mom. Call today.
Call A Place for Mom at 1-800-370-2715. That's 1-800-370-2715.
The NASCAR Cup Series.
Kurt won last time. Diving down to the inside won't be enough.
Heads to the Irish Hills of Michigan.
Here's Logano. He'll dive it deep. Kurt Busch to the inside of Truex for second.
With just a handful of races left before the playoffs, it's the Firekeepers Casino 400 from Michigan International Speedway. Saturday afternoon at 2 on the Motor Racing Network.
The NASCAR Cup Series is back from NASCAR's home in Dallas, Texas. 1160 AM KBDT News Talk Sports.
To admit it's getting better, a little better all the time.
If you'd like to get better, call Ann right now. 214-810-8255. 214-810-TALK. Now more with Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
If you have become an outcast in your family because of your beliefs, we would love for you to let us know. You can call in and talk to us, or you can go on Facebook, or you can email us, or you can text us. You can text us at 817-501-1638.
Or 817-991-4967.
No,
4964, sorry.
They just messed them up. Yeah. Anyway, we would love to hear from you and help you. So the number one thing we talked about, Dr. Slaughter said, is don't talk about politics or religion. But on the break, we talked about the fact that it's going to come up inevitably in this climate. It's going to come up. And I asked him that often people that blow and have such a hard time having these discussions have a hard time anyway with difficult kinds of things, and they can blow or have stress management, anger management issues.
Right.
So when you have that, what are some things that you talk to these people about to help them, if whether on the receiving end or on the end of you're the one there for anger management?
Well, the main thing to me is that I try to communicate is that, especially in a conversation, leave it as a conversation. A lot of people who have anger issues or stress issues already, they'll try to make dialogue a debate. They will try to win. They will try to out-talk the other person, which it always creates anger in a situation. It creates stress and tension in a dialogue. And so what we're trying to do is to get rid of that so we don't make our dialogue a debate. Don't try to win. We're not winning here. All we want to do is connect so we have what I call a conversation. I would like to find out what they think. I'd like, if they want to know, what I think, and we talk about that. That's all.
Well, usually when you have a conversation, it's to get closer. You're trying to connect with the other person.
Right, exactly.
And so you bring up what comes in your head, but you don't always have to say what comes in your head.
No, some things are better thought than said, right?
Yes, because if you think it and you wonder, there's lots of ways to find out who someone is voting for per se. As you get to know them, you'll know what their views are like. You'll know if they're more conservative or if they're more, whatever. They'll say it over time, and you don't have to force it out and make it a debate.
Right.
And, even if you disagree with them, you can be like, especially if they're young, you can be like, okay, they'll learn, right?
Right.
In your own head. So part of it is in your own head being able to process through the information when it comes in your mind to know how do I, and why am I asking that? Because I think one of the main things, when people ask things, they don't necessarily know why they're asking. The thought comes in their head and they'll say it. And so my suggestion is think about what you're going to say. Don't say it. If it's political, if it is, you probably want to take it, think about it, and reword it so it comes out in a different way. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. I think sometimes when we give people a piece of our mind or what we're really thinking, it's a part of our mind that we probably we can't afford to give up, right? But so the thing is, I think we have to be careful about what we say and how we say it. Tone of voice means a lot. Mm-hmm. I can imply that I think another person's an idiot just by the way I say something, right?
Yeah.
And so we use a lot of inflammatory speech that needs to be cut out of our political conversations that we have. There are things that are just, they inflame people. They make people angry just because of the statement itself. How could you believe something like that?
Yes, and I think people, the more you listen to certain things, the more you start saying them themselves. I actually had a person that I was seeing that worked with people that kept saying the F word a lot, and she didn't like it, and she didn't like it. And one day she came in and she said, I can't even believe that at work today I said it. Mm-hmm. And I never have said that. But by hanging out with these people or listening to these people all the time, your brain, your reticular activating system is taking that in.
Yes, it is.
And you start spouting out what you've been hearing. And so I think most of the time, even on Facebook, when I see people talking politics, they're just spouting what the media says. I mean, it sounds just like watching TV to me. Mm-hmm. It isn't a real heart discussion. And then people, they see a meme or something, they repost it. I mean, so that real deep, real discussion, a person, like a real person, just being down to earth and having a discussion, you don't see that much on Facebook. You see these repeats or these parroting of media, and then you see people attacking it on one side or the other. And that's just not fun. And that's why people have just grown so weary of that. I think it's really important, when I think of my daughter, I think of, recognize that we all experience the world differently. I mean, first of all, she's young. And she hadn't done a lot. She hasn't been out there a lot. I mean, she's growing, and the friends she hangs out with, her world is smaller, right? And if you're in your 60s, you've been through a lot, and you see things differently. And if you own your own business or whatever, you're going to be very different than like a 25-year-old per se.
Right.
And so everybody experiences the world differently. And we live in Texas. Let's say you live in a liberal state, whatever. Wherever you're living, your experience is going to be different than them. And they're watching different shows. They're watching different I guarantee 20-year-olds are watching different shows than 60-year-olds.
Probably so.
And even the different kind of news. Often they'll read it on Reddit or whatever, wherever.
And experience has a lot to do. Katie, they set her up. Okay,
they didn't mean to, though. I don't think it. I don't think it was planned out.
But,
what?
Yeah, but there can be a setup, and so some people who are older had more experience in dealing with controversial things like that might have been able to protect themselves a little bit better. But our daughter, she was just being honest. And the guy beat her up for it, and that's terrible.
Well, and I have people that have asked real direct. They're usually not real skilled socially with, kindness in their language a lot.
Right,
they're just not real careful with what they say. And, I had a man I liked a lot that lived in California. He just straight out point blank asked me a question that I knew if I answered it correctly, like what I really believed, he was going to blow on me, right?
Yep.
And so I sat there and I said something stupid like animals. I mean, I was so worried about upsetting him. I said, he's like, what's the most important thing to you? And I was like, animals. It was dumb. Everybody around me started laughing.
You like animals, I know.
Because I could tell that, I knew how he was, right? And so I think that people that can't put things in really nice ways, or they can be socially awkward, they'll ask these questions they Shouldn't ask. So I think, and have realistic expectations of family members. I mean, you know how they are. If they're your family, you already know their limitations. You pretty much probably already know how they feel about things. And so and you know if they will listen to you at all. Because I think a lot of people on Facebook don't listen to anybody else, really. Yeah, they're all just spouting their own views. And so, and I think I know that I have family members that they will not listen to me, right? And so if they ask me those questions, I don't want to alienate them, you know? Right. And so part of it is realizing these relationships, what they're like. You know, it's not a make-believe family like you want it to be. It's your real family. So you want to treat these people, you know, humans get frazzled. They get tired. They can get hungry. They can have a hard day. They can be physically or psychologically challenged, you know. So I think just being aware of that as people, that taking another person's opinion and being able to kind of reconcile it yourself, to think it through well instead of parroting everything out there in the news and the media. And basically, they've given everyone kind of a free pass to attack others, demean them, and all that. So now we have all these kids that are having trouble with that.
Right. I think they have. In fact, they do that with one another. We see that and all. I think one of the main things that I would add to that particular part of the discussion is that to have a meaningful and connecting conversation with somebody about politics and the way we are, we have to put away our defense mechanisms and really be careful not to react to what they say, not to defend ourselves or even go in with a defensive attitude. You know, we have to be really careful about not doing that.
Well, and I think because communication and conflict resolution is like a normal part of family relationships and even friendships.
Oh, yeah.
That you want to self-disclose slowly. You know, as you get to know a person, until you really know what they're like, you want to be careful what you say. You want to share just a little bit at a time, you know. Right. And over the years, of course, we've had a lot of years to experience politics. And so we know that if someone asks it, you know, what is their intention here? What are they meaning? Or the kind of person they are. But even if it's not about politics, just in general, boundaries, by Henry Cloud and John Townsend, that book Boundaries talks about you disclose based on the relationship that you know so far. You move carefully. And then how they respond to you, what you say, lets you know whether it's safe to open up more or not.
Right.
And so you self-disclose based on how close you are and what you've learned about the person.
Right.
Instead of just throwing it out there and hoping they handle it well.
And when it comes to a family member in politics or any hot topic like that, we already know where they're coming from. We kind of know what they're thinking if we've had any kind of contact with them lately or in the last few months or years or whatever. And so we have an advantage in that we can be careful about how we broach a conversation with them.
I think also that old adage, just, you know, avoid battles that you don't have to fight.
Sure.
Right? Like, if you don't have to talk about it, don't bring it up. I mean, I would say avoid those that you tend to not, that get into a win-lose, as you were saying.
Yep.
I would say avoid those conversations if you can.
Right. And, you know, we've had people say, well, like the question before, you know, who are you going to vote for? We've had people say, what did you think of the election? I mean, those are charged questions.
Yes, because usually
those people have an agenda when they ask questions like that.
Yeah, usually someone that asks that is on the other side.
Right,
and so
exactly.
It's a strange question, and it's a hurtful question because you already know that you already feel bad that your candidate lost, and the other person is kind of rubbing it in. Same thing with football.
Yeah.
If I called you and the Cowboys had lost,
Cowboys and the Eagles,
or the OU, like OU had lost.
Oh no,
because let's say I was your brother who went to OSU and they won, and he's calling you. What do you think of the game? Now you put up with that from your brother, then you guys, you know, you've done that for a long time. But if it was kind of set in a, you know, I don't know.
Well, yeah, let me just say that we don't talk about that. We don't watch OSU games together. We don't do that.
Because you don't.
And that's the reason. We don't want to have that be an issue. And sometimes that's a little difficult because it's a subject near and dear, right?
So you don't fight battles you can avoid. Is that how you say it? You don't fight battles you can't win, or you don't fight battles if you can avoid them.
Well, you don't go there if you've already won the fight. You know? I mean, why rub something in, And OU wins a lot and stuff like that. I don't call my brother and say, "What'd you think of the game?" when we win. I don't do that.
Well, because the damage is so, like, so let's say you do have that conversation, he hurts your feelings. I mean, it's just it wasn't important to life.
Yeah, why even go there?
Why do that? And that's where when you're going to say something to somebody and you're causing conflict, you don't want to do that unless it's very important, in my opinion, because you're going to harm the person or you're going to harm the relationship. And nowadays, people can cut you off pretty quickly. So, anyway, but... You could go ahead.
I was just going to say, when we're thinking about our family, right?
Mm-hmm.
We really want to have kindness on the front burner when we connect with them or when we talk with them. We're not looking to win. We're not looking to debate and win anything. We're just looking to be kind to them, to hear from them, to find out what they think and why, that kind of thing. And we're wanting to connect. We're wanting to preserve that relationship, preserve that family. Not divide that family.
Well, you don't want to divide. I mean, you want to keep your friends and family, right? That's what we want to help you to do. You can, and we've had people talk about this, that they establish ground rules for discussion before different events. But you can also do that in friendships, in relationships. I know that the women who wrote the book, You're Wrong, But I'm Listening, they listen to each other. One's a Democrat and one's a Republican. Yep. One's left-leaning, one's right-leaning. They've been friends since college. And they are able to talk about politics, but they want to have a sane discussion and be real. And when you do that, you can handle it well.
Yes.
And you're just getting to understand the other person better. And this is one of the things that I find that you don't see so much anymore, people trying to understand the other person. Like I have asthma, and so as soon as I can, I take that mask off, right? Because it causes me, I start having trouble breathing. Now, I haven't had anybody yell at me, but I've seen a lot of people saying that people yell at them, you need to put that mask on, and they don't even ask them if they have trouble with the mask. Does it cause you trouble to breathe, or are you struggling? They don't even try to get to know people's baggage anymore.
They don't care.
Yeah, but that's where it's just, okay, so establishing ground rules, you can do that for discussion, what to talk about, what not to talk about, and also how to talk about things. You can't get above this noise level, be kind, be gracious if you start getting out of line. So a lot of Facebook or a lot of, Facebook groups or Reddit groups or whatever, they have a commentator that decides if people are out of line to block them or get them off. And hey, you're getting too wild, you're going to be off of here. So that's where you can have those rules for discussion in families.
Right. And the people who wrote that book, we'll do this when we get back then maybe.
So stay right here. When we get back, we are going to have you examine your role in disagreements to know how your part.
Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just 2 of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. They say we're not getting any younger, but many thousands have felt younger after a few short months using Dr. Wallach's all-natural longevity nutritional supplements. How many times have you said one of these days I need to call Dr. Wallach and find out what I need? Well, make that day today. Here's how to get that information. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down and make the call. The information is free and there is no pressure. So do it now. That's 800-214-0065. If you face health challenges such as heart disease, arthritis, diabetes, fibromyalgia, depression, infertility, ADD or ADHD, high blood pressure, or one of hundreds of other diseases, help is available. All you have to do is make the call. You have nothing to lose but the pain and suffering. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. You've been listening to Dr. Wallach, and I bet you have some questions. We want to help. And here's how you can get the answers. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down and make the call right now. Don't wait any longer to find out how Dr. Wallach's own all-natural nutritional supplements by Youngevity can help you. Are you concerned with reducing your risk of heart disease, cancer, stroke, or high blood pressure? Help is available. Do you have arthritis, sore joints, lower back pain, or fibromyalgia? Call now. Dr. Wallach creates his own formulation so you can be sure that what is on the label is actually in the bottle. Whatever your health challenge, make this call. Thousands like you have seen results for a happier, healthier life. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Call today. 800-214-0065.
Do you have an idea for an invention or new product? Do you think companies would be interested in your idea? Do you want to try to get a patent? Then call InventHelp now. InventHelp keeps your idea confidential and explains every step of the invention process. We create professional materials representing your idea and submit it to companies who are looking for new ideas. We have more than 9,000 companies who have agreed to review ideas in confidence. If a company shows interest in manufacturing your invention, we can negotiate on your behalf. We have helped over 10,000 clients receive patents. We also offer services including 3D modeling and animation demonstrating your idea, prototyping services, and we use state-of-the-art technology to show InventHelp client ideas to additional companies. Join the thousands of people just like you who chose InventHelp to pursue their idea. We are experienced. We are working for you. We are InventHelp.
Call us for free information at 1-800-460-1663. That's 1-800-460-1663. Again, 1-800-460-1663.
To admit it's getting better, a little better all the time.
You're getting better all the time. Now back to Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
Despite your best efforts, we're trying to help you know how to avoid political conversations. But as you see, despite your best efforts to avoid them with friends and family members so you don't get outcast or alienate other people, you're likely to find yourself from time to time in these uncomfortable situations.
Yes, you will.
And they are just like unavoidable and inescapable in this climate today. So we were talking about what not to do, what to do, how to do it. We just talked about establishing ground rules for conversations. You can do that with family or at events or relatives. We wanted to talk now about examining your role in disagreements. So what I'm encouraging you to do is consider your body language, your facial gestures, your tone of voice.
See, most people don't realize that about 70% or more of our communication is we communicate more with those things than we do the words we speak.
Yes.
It's how we say what we say, not what we say. And so those are very important to consider.
Yes, because, as we were saying, every conversation from beginning, once you say something, there's a chain reaction that goes after. Mm-hmm. And you determine the level of the kind of chain reaction based on the way that your body goes along with what you're saying. If you heighten it by having a high angry tone or look, or your hands are on your hips, okay, or things like that, then you heighten the anger in the chain reaction. If you want the energy to be positive, because you can say, and there are these people that are such pros at saying something negative in a very calm, sweet way. I'm trying to describe those people, So you can say what you believe in and have grace and kindness. But I'm also saying be careful with your body language, your facial expressions, your tone of voice. Anything else?
Well, no, I think those are the main things. Your volume has a lot to do with it as well. You can say something calmly, or you can raise your voice, and when you do that, in fact, all of these things are signals that you're beginning to lose control, and that you are needing to win, and that you're not in a conversational mode anymore.
Well, and by the time you get to insults.
Oh, wow. We haven't even talked about insults yet.
Yeah, by the time you get to insults or just attacking, personal attacks, you've lost control of yourself.
Right, and we talked about inflammatory statements a little bit. No intelligent person would believe that. That's a stupid thing to say. You know, how many times you heard that? How could anyone believe that? Those are inflammatory statements, and we need to reel that in if we think about those kinds of statements.
Well, what do they say? They're firecrackers that just have a lot of bam but leave a pile of ashes at the end.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And nobody wants a pile of ashes. So
no.
That's where learning to stay calm. And I think more than anything, just deep breathing. If someone brings up a negative topic, or if you're thinking about it, you want to breathe deeply and think it through. If they say it to you, you want to take a moment, breathe deeply. And that's why I always say respond with why. Why do you ask that?
Yeah, that's
because
a good
that gives you time to think it through. It helps you be calmer in your response. And then, refuse to light the fuse. If they have thrown out gasoline, don't light it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you don't have to do that.
No.
If they're baiting you, you don't have to take the bait.
Oh, that's what you call baiting.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. I think just not adding the fuel. You know, if they've already got fuel there, then you know this is a trigger for them.
Yep.
And you don't want to add fuel to it. You can stop it right then and say, I just don't want to talk about politics, or I don't talk about politics. I don't want to talk about politics with you. So you kind of ignore those. You don't respond by answering their question. You change the conversation.
Yeah, and you can be honest. You can just be right up front and honest. I don't think this may not be the best time to talk about this. I don't think we're prepared to talk about this. Maybe there's some other direction we need to go.
I would say, oh my gosh, you're just going to get your blood pressure up. We're not going to talk about this. Let's talk about how is your mom doing, right? How is she? So you just want to change the conversation.
Right.
And we want to help you get better. You definitely don't want to have aggression toward family members and friends. You know, you want to learn to bring it down. And just really, number one, check yourself. You know, find out what you believe.
That's
take
right.
it easy. Bring yourself down. Recognize we all experience the world differently. And to have real expectations of friends and family, what they can and can't do.
You know,
if you need to change it, avoid false labels.
Right.
And establish ground rules.
Yeah, I was just going to add to some of those things. We can consciously relax ourselves, relax our muscles, and so we can add to the value in our conversation by doing that.
And that's to help you get better with conflict with family members in this politically charged climate so that you don't lose the loved ones and you don't become an outcast anymore. And so we hope you guys have learned. We'd love to have you here next week. We're going to talk more about the climate and how to handle it better so that you just keep getting better. Be here next week. And until then,
stay well, be well,
live well,
live better with Ann and Jill.